If you're listening today, I have a feeling that maybe you've had one of those weeks as a leader. You know, the ones where nothing seems to go the way you planned, where people don't respond the way they should, and where you feel like you're carrying the weight of the whole world on your shoulders. I'll be honest, I had a week like that. Actually, I think I've had a couple weeks like that. Other leaders I depended on weren't responding in a timely or professional way, making it really hard for me to do my job well. And then I had frontline team members who seemed to be more focused on negativity and complaints rather than real solutions. By the end of the week, I was exhausted, frustrated, wondering why I even bother when it feels like no one else is as invested as I am or sees the investment that we make as leaders. Have you been there? Maybe you're there right now. If you've been in leadership for any length of time, you know what this feels like. You have expectations for how things should go, and when people don't meet them, it's frustrating. It can even feel really personal. The reality is, leadership comes with a burden that not everyone sees. You're responsible for the outcomes, yet you don't always have control over the pieces that lead to those outcomes. You're constantly balancing accountability with grace, ownership with surrender, and that's where today's topic comes in. I want to talk about a concept that's gained traction in personal growth circles, and that is Mel Robbins' let them theory, but from a Christian perspective. Because I truly believe that as leaders, we are called to surrender outcomes to God, to trust His plan, and remember that leadership isn't about controlling people. It's about leading with integrity, modeling the right behaviors, and trusting that the right people will align in His time. So if you're feeling frustrated, burned out, or like you're the only one who cares, this episode is for you.
Welcome to the Grace-Filled Leader Podcast. Do you want better work-life balance? Do you get stuck in patterns of perfectionism and people-pleasing? Have you always been an overachiever but never really felt good enough, no matter how much outward success you achieve? Do you want more time for the things that matter most? Well, you are in the right place. Here on the Grace-Filled Leader Podcast, we focus on spirit-driven success and share the secrets to having better work-life balance as a busy woman in leadership. Here you will learn how to set boundaries like a boss, find peace of mind, and reclaim your time for the things that matter most. Hi, I'm Tanya, a wife, mom, leader, and certified Christian life coach. For most of my life, I tried to find worthiness through achievement. I spent decades people-pleasing and pouring myself into my work. I was looking for my value through the approval of others. This led me to feel burned out, empty, and exhausted. I had no time or energy for myself or my family. I realized that I was wasting time and energy looking for validation in all the wrong places. But my life changed when I finally surrendered and God showed me a different way. It is my mission to help you start living the abundant life God has for you. If you're ready to become fueled by grace and find freedom from people-pleasing, if you're ready to multiply your time and impact as a Christian woman in leadership, this podcast is for you. Roll up your sleeves, sister friends. It's time to get after it.
Let's be real for just a second. Leadership can be really hard. It can be downright heartbreaking. You pour yourself into the work. You set deadlines, you try to create a vision, you do everything you can to make things run smoothly, but then you run into the human factor. Other leaders who don't lead so well, team members who are resistant, clients or stakeholders who don't appreciate the effort, and suddenly it feels like you're swimming against the tide. I've recently experienced this, and over time, many times experienced this in my own leadership. I had responsibilities that depended on other leaders to act professionally and in a timely manner, and when they didn't, it compromised my ability to do my work effectively. I also had frontline team members who were choosing negativity and pessimism over problem solving, choosing to see all that's wrong and not choosing to see all that's right. And honestly, it wore me out, physically, emotionally, mentally. I caught myself slipping into frustration, feelings of wanting to just quit and run away, wanting to micromanage situations. If people weren't going to do their jobs well, I just have to step in and make things happen, right? But here's the problem. That is not sustainable, and it is not leadership. It is control. When we try to force people into the behaviors that we want, we end up exhausted, bitter, and discouraged. And worse yet, we take on a burden that was never ours to carry in the first place. So let's talk about the Christian perspective on the let them theory. Mel Robbins popularized this idea of let them, a concept that encourages us to stop trying to force people to be who we want them to be. Instead, we accept that people will make their own choices and we let them. If someone is constantly unreliable, let them. If they gossip or choose negativity, let them. If they walk away instead of showing up, let them. Now at first, this sounds passive, like we're just throwing our hands up and giving up. But that's not what this is or what it's intended to be. This is about letting go of the illusion of control and focusing on what we can control. In a nutshell, it suggests that when people show you who they are, when they make choices that frustrate or disappoint you, your job isn't to control or change them. It is to let them. Let them be unresponsive. Let them choose negativity. Let them show you who they really are. Why? Because you don't have to carry the weight of other people's actions. But here's the thing. As Christians, we don't just let them and move on. We let them and then we trust God. We're not just letting people be. We are actively surrendering them to God. Proverbs chapter 3 verses 5 through 6 reminds us, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to Him and He will make your paths straight. Sometimes we think we need to fix everything ourselves, but maybe God is asking us to step back so that He can step in. Matthew chapter 11 verses 28 through 30 says, come to me all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Leadership is exhausting when we try to force people to change. But when we lead with wisdom and we release control, we can find peace. 1 Corinthians chapter 3 verses 6 through 7 says, I planted the seed, Apollos watered it, but God has been making it grow. We do our part, but only God can bring the growth. Letting go doesn't mean we stop caring. It doesn't mean we stop leading. It means we lead with integrity and we trust God with the results. This is the heart of a Christian approach to leadership. It's not just about letting go. It's about surrendering to God. It's about trusting that if someone is being difficult, unresponsive, or resistant, God sees it. He knows what's happening, and it's not your job to fix every single person. Your job is to lead with integrity and courage, to do the work you are called to do, and to trust that God will handle the rest. We see this in Jesus' leadership as well. He didn't force people to follow Him. He invited them. He taught them. But if they rejected Him, He let them. He kept moving forward in obedience to the Father's will. As leaders, we can follow that example. Instead of getting caught up in frustration over things outside of our control, we can release them to God. So how do we actually apply this? Well, here are some practical shifts to make. Number 1, refocus your energy on what you can control. You can't force people to care as much as you do. You can lead by example, set clear expectations, and hold firm boundaries. Second, communicate expectations, but don't chase compliance. Communicate what is needed, when it's needed, and why it matters. After that, their response is on them. If someone isn't responding professionally or timely, address it, and then let them. If team members are choosing negativity, address it, redirect them, and then let them. Don't absorb it. This doesn't mean there are no consequences, but your leadership is not defined by their choices. Third, surrender outcomes to God. Pray over your leadership. Release the need to see results immediately. Trust that God sees every effort and will honor the work that you do. And fourth, take the next right step. Instead of getting stuck in frustration, ask yourself, what is the next right thing? Focus on small, faithful steps forward. When Jesus sent out the disciples, he told them that if a town rejected them, they should shake the dust off their feet and move on. That's a lesson for us too. Some people will get it, and some won't. Let them. But you keep leading. So if you're in a season of frustration, what can you do? Well, here are some practical steps to apply. Number 1, pray before you react. Before sending the frustrated email, take a breath. Ask, God, what do you want me to do here? And then wait and listen. Second, decide what is worth your energy. Some battles aren't yours to fight. Some frustrations aren't yours to carry. Number 3, release what you can't control. Say it out loud. God, I trust you with this. And fourth, keep showing up as the leader God called you to be. Your integrity is not dependent on others' behavior. Leadership is a long game. Some people will align with your vision, others won't. Some will rise to the occasion, others will choose to be negative. At the end of the day, leadership isn't about controlling people. It's about serving them. It's about modeling integrity, trust, and faith, even when things don't go as planned. So if you've been feeling the weight of frustration, I want you to take a deep breath and remind yourself, you are not responsible for fixing everything. You are responsible for being faithful to what God has called you to do. And the rest, let them and let God. Here's what I want you to remember. Your job is to lead well. God's job is to handle the results. So today I encourage you, release the need to control. Do your work with excellence, lead with integrity, and trust the rest to God. I want to thank you. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today, my friends. If this episode encouraged you, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Please reach out on social media, reply to the emails that might come into your inbox, or leave a review. That is the best way for me to know that you're enjoying the show and for others to find the show. And until next time, just take the next right step. As always, I pray that the Lord fills you with gratitude, peace, and His amazing grace.
I pray this episode blessed you, spoke to you, or encouraged you in some way. If so, please share it with a friend and head on over to Apple Podcasts to leave me a review. That's the only way for me to know if you're enjoying the show. Nothing blesses me more than to hear from you. Also, come on over to our free Facebook community. This is a great place for us to support one another on our faith and leadership journeys. You can find the link to the group in the show notes or go to gracefilledleader.com/community. If you have questions or content ideas for the show, please send me a message on SpeakPipe or via email. Go to gracefilledleader.com/contact and leave a written or voice recorded message. I would love to know how I can best serve you on the podcast. Now to Him who can do immeasurably more than we can ask or imagine, according to His power that is at work within us. Ephesians 3, verse 20. Until next time, my friends, God bless.